Hello, everyone, and Happy New Year 2022. We welcome you all to the Happiness Journey with Dr. Dan podcast, where every journey is worth living. My name is Dr. Dan, and I'm your host for today's episode. I'm a cognitive behavior psychotherapist specializing in anger management issues, both court-appointed and private, marriage counseling, dissociative disorders, narcissistic personality disorders, depression, anxiety, dream analysis, and also provide life, business, and retirement coaching support. I provide individual one-on-one session and also do group settings. If you have any, or if you need any assistance, reach out to DNV Therapy and Coaching Services at 301-325-1550. And my website is lifecoachdanamzalai.com. Today, I'm very excited to have for our second episode of season 5, a very special guest, Hadriana Leo from Money Navigator. Now, just like every of my past episode, I will leave it up to the guests to properly introduce themselves, as no one can do a better job. Hadriana, the floor is yours.
Hey, Dr. Dan. You know what? I probably do a horrible job of introducing myself, but I'm certainly going to, I'll give you what I think might be important for our conversation. So what's important here is I am Hadriana. I am me. I am all of what that encompasses. And I really invite people to get to know me so that as they interact with me, they can determine who I am to them. But for the purpose of the conversation, I believe I've been placed on this beautiful planet at this time to be an inspiration. I specifically think I'm here to inspire the person who's underserved, maybe underrepresented. I go to bat for the underdog every time, right? So specifically in the realm of money and women, I have planted a flag in that spot because I have a lived experience of not only having been underserved and underserviced in that area, but I also know how to get out of it and how to win. I know for a fact that across multiple ethnicities, multiple nationalities, multiple religions and worldviews, money is a big part of it. And money has been pulling people's happiness away. And we need to stop it. So in a nutshell, I'm a wealth coach. I'm a strategist. I'm a consultant. I'm here to help women create wealth. And I want women to be able to do that in a way that they're confident, that they're unapologetic, and that they can do it on purpose. And when we're walking in our purpose, our happiness is never going to be lost. The joy of life will walk right there hand in hand with us. So a long way to tell you a little bit about who I am, but there, you can do with it what you will.
Beautiful. Wow. Well, you're lucky because 67% of our listeners are women.
Oh, yay. Hi, girls.
You're in a very, very good position here. So, okay, let's get started by asking what brought you to become a wealth coach, and for that gender. Why that gender? I mean, I understand because you have been underserved and so on and so forth, but why do you feel that this cannot be applied to also men?
Yes. And I actually do have men who I have worked with. I do work with men. But what I've seen and what the stats have shown us is that women interact with money differently than men. Now, understand that when I say women, I'm using a blanket term. I'm not being very specific with regards to identities, whether you're binary, trans, queer, or anything like that, because the system that we have created for ourselves identifies men and women. But I think in the term women, what I'm seeing are the people that the system was not created for. And that is why I've specifically honed my services towards women, because women have not been factored into how we as a society do money. And I'm not just talking about buying the groceries, paying the bills and stuff like that. We've been doing this forever. I think Miss Brady from the Brady Bunch was balancing the house's checkbook back then. And she was happy, she was fulfilled. However, I'm thinking more along the lines of actual wealth creation strategies and conversations. These were never part of what the expectation was for women. And if you happen to be female and in an ethnically repressed minority group, oh my goodness, the stats do even worse for us then, because I identify as Black. I'm an immigrant to a first world nation. I came from the Caribbean country, St. Lucia, hoot hoot. And having made the choice to leave where I was born to come somewhere else, my goodness, the stats just keep stacking up against you the more of these identifiers that you find yourself identifying with. That's the person that I need to serve, because not only was it my experience, but it's having experienced money the way I did, it really messed with my head, Dr. Dan. It messed with my head because I saw so much that I was capable of doing, but somehow there was this wall that I just couldn't break through. I couldn't get past it. And it really started messing with how I identified myself, how I viewed my worth, how I viewed my purpose, how I viewed the next 40, 50 years of my life. And it's, I believe I saw other women having a similar experience. And as I found my answers and my revolution in that space, I knew that I had the gifts that would allow me to deliver that. And well, I certainly had the gumption to do it.
Well, that's an interesting perception here you got. And unfortunately, it's also a reality. As you said, this big wall that you saw in front of you. These are basically just sticks that were shoved in your wheels for you not to be able to get to the next level. Even though you had the wits and the know-how to be able to achieve the goals, you still have had to deal with those unsurmountable mountains to be able to climb, and yet still are trying to get to that Mount Everest, to that height. But at the same time, is it because also the different cultures that the women have been raised under to say, well, find yourself a man that will be the breadwinner, and you'll be able to get kind of like, not become codependent to them, but kind of like, okay, just get yourself a little job. No need too much inspiration in your life. No need too much being overachiever. Just go and be the wife and be the mother of your children, kind of thing.
Yes.
So do you
and even in this society, I mean, even in 2020, 21, 22, whenever whoever's listening to this, it's still there. I mean, we embrace feminism. We say that women have been, we've been given the right to vote. We've been able to have our own bank accounts and all of that. But even today,
Yes.
the system is still working, even though we are not consciously doing it, but the system's still in place. Here's an example. How many times will the bank call the house and ask to speak to my husband?
All the time.
Right? Right? And I would initiate the conversation. I says, oh, well, I can help you. Well, okay, privacy purposes, no problem. Where's your husband? My husband's here. My husband grabs the phone. Yes, this is me. This is my date of birth. Later, talk to my wife because I'm the one who deals with it. That happens to be my superpower. And thankfully, in that relationship, that is acknowledged and appreciated. In other relationships, it's not, because here's another thing too, Dr. Dan. The same stressors that are in place to keep a woman outside of the wealth conversations, those same stressors are on our men to understand, multiply, and thrive in a system that they might just not have a natural affinity to. Men are also very stressed in trying to manage the welfare, legacy, financial well-being of families, and not all of them have a natural affinity to it. There are two sets of stressors going at both sides of this equation. And unfortunately, until we can stand up and say, you know what, I'm going to challenge this and create something that works for me, we're all going to face the stresses. And this is This podcast is about happiness. It's about our life journey that needs to be full. It needs to be rich. So when I say rich, not just in coins, not just in dollars, but fullness in
Purpose.
experiences and all of that. We have to find a way to take money out as our source of anxiety, to remove financial well-being as the place where we're getting stressed out. And we need to turn our personal finance journeys into a source of happiness and fulfillment.
But you know, here's the thing. You're going into a battle with the educational system that has been putting that has been planting the seed into the minds of the young kids and give them or fed them with so much crap, you know, throughout their lives. And of course, I mean, they don't even give the basic as how to balance a checkbook, how to understand balance sheet. They don't give those important information. They just say, no, don't worry about it. You'll learn it in the
You'll
market.
figure it out.
You'll figure it out. Exactly. But you know, when people leave high school, they have no clue what the hell they're doing. And
Yes.
because of that, it's like you have the right idea, but how to go and try to implement it into a system that has been in, you know, like already ingrained into people's mind, and changing it for them to be able to have the right tools to be able to educate the kids. It's kind of like, I think I would be able to climb Mount Everest with my eyes closed twice in one day than having to do all
Oh boy.
yes.
That's a good one. You know, I tried that. So I remember early on when I started the Money Navigator International business, I was approved by my local teaching education board to go into high schools. I created the program, I went in, I pitched it, and they said, you know, this is a great program. You're approved to deliver that program for grade 11s. And of course, it was a school by school that I had to go in and say, hey, this thing is there. I'm ready to come in and do it with you. Barely anyone. I think maybe two in the 3 years that I had that permission, that permit to go in. I think maybe two schools reached out and I had the opportunity to do that. I also was able to offer summer schools esque. I call it the A plus money grad. Summer school sessions where students would come in the summer, we would sit through a great curriculum, help them understand money and all of that. Here's what I learned, Dr. Dan. The students do want the knowledge. Their parents certainly want it for them. But something you said really resonated with me, and it kind of brought back to mind something I said to a client not long ago. How do you change the system, right?
Mhm.
And I have decided I'm not changing the system because one person will not change the system. The system was not built by one person. The system was built over a number of lifetimes when groups of people together agreed on, I guess, a mode of conduct or a sequence of actions, and whatever the roots of that were. We're not going to go into that right now. What I offer my clients is the opportunity to understand the system and then create a system that works for them. I cannot take my energy or ask any client to make it their life's work to change a system.
Mhm.
No, what I can do one by one is if I can teach you the rules of the game, am I not going to allow you to play that game in the way that uses your best strengths and win?
Absolutely. That's
So
a
that's it.
angle, Adriana.
We're not changing the game. We're not changing the game.
It's like you cannot change human nature. You have to work with it.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think that's part of why finances robs us of our happiness, our peace of mind, and our joy. Because personal finance has always been based and rooted in IQ, in what you know, what you can calculate, you know, what formula you can run for this, that, and the other, you know, numbers, numbers, numbers. Joy and happiness and true wealth is based in EQ.
Mhm.
It's emotional intelligence that allows us to live lives that are fulfilling, rich, purposeful, and all of that good stuff that measures true wealth. But money is a currency that we all have to use. And when we can marry IQ and EQ. We get to thrive in personal finance. We get true joy, and our journey to happiness, our journey to fulfillment and becoming who we were meant to be on this side of our existence, it becomes something that we're actually happy about. We want it. We look forward to it. And any challenges that come our way, we're more than happy to climb Mount Everest twice in one day if we want to, because it's tied to something that's a lot more powerful than just IQ.
But here's the caveat is that people have relationship with money, either a good or bad relationship with money. They look at it as the root of all evil. And for others, they feel that, especially those who don't have it, they will always look at it this way. But yet at the same time, society pressure, where you see people with, like exotic cars or mansion by the sea and so on and so forth, it brings the idea to people that if you don't have that, you are a failure.
Worth.
So that, or you're not worthy enough to be living in our society. So how can you train someone's mind to look at someone else's wealth and fortune and abundance, and for them to say, this is not my journey, not where I want to be. This is one, but unfortunately, no one thinks this way. That's why you have a lot of people like looking at social media and saying, well, look at all those cars, look at all this and that. And it haunts them to a point where it destroys their self-confidence to be able to go above and beyond what are their full capabilities to be able to achieve happiness in their life.
Yes.
And unfortunately, it's hard to break that kind of bridge that they have built them, or that they've, I would say, not built to cross on the other side. So
That's right.
how do you re-educate people this way?
I think a big part of the work that I do is allowing people the freedom to have their own authentic journeys.
Okay.
Here's another truth, because we've talked about a lot of truths so far, but the majority of the world's wealth is unseen. I mean, honestly, with the billions and billions and trillions of dollars and that's flying all around us, most of the world's wealthiest people you will never know. And
Yep.
I mean really wealthy people. So what are we seeing on social media? What is it that we're actually seeing with all of those millions of dollars of ads and marketing money that's being pumped out there? We're seeing one person's determination of what wealth should look like.
Mm-hmm.
And because it's being bombarded at us all the time, we accept it as truth.
Correct. Yes.
But the real truth is most of the world's wealth is quietly doing the work it was put there to do.
True.
And when we can let go, I remember saying to my daughter not too long ago, I said, I'm going to be the wealthiest person that nobody knows about. Right?
Yes.
Because my journey with wealth means that I had to let go of my fear of a life that is open to the public. One of my fears, because not everybody thinks money is the root of all evil. Well, a lot of people are churched, and this concept as money being evil is prevalent across multiple cultures. But one of my blocks that I had to deal with was this: I don't want people in my business. Like, I want to be able to get up, get in my car, drive to the groceries in my ratty old sweatpants, my most comfortable sweatshirt with a hoodie or without, and just go about my business and still be filthy rich money-wise because I'm on purpose.
Mm-hmm.
I'm still on mission. And I had to let go of that fear because it was keeping me back, and I kept sabotaging my money journey because of that fear that, you know what, the more money I accumulate, the more my life would be open for public scrutiny. Correct. But I had to let go of that. How? Well, for heaven's sake, it's my journey, Dr. Dan, and I get to do it the way that I want to. And once I found that freedom, I was able to embrace whatever that journey brought. I didn't have to give up my happiness, peace of mind, or for me, my need for privacy in order to create the wealth, legacy, and impact that I wanted to create. And once I did that, things started to happen. And that's pretty much what I help my clients to do. It's a question of making it your own without apology,
Yes.
right? So I think that's part of why I like working one-on-one. And similar to the work that you do,
Mhm.
you have a very different experience if you're doing a keynote to thousands of people,
Yes.
still delivering a great impact message, high impact revolutionary teachings that you're delivering to thousands of people, versus if you're sitting across the desk with one person.
Mhm.
The same messaging has a different way of impacting that life. And from that one life, the ripple happens.
Correct. Exactly. But at the same time, it's also you have to think about if you're talking to a room of 1,000 people, chances are you will change the life of more than just one person, like you if you would be one-on-one. So I think propagating your message to the outside world will render a much greater result than doing the one-on-one, even though one-on-one has a much deeper and long-lasting effect if you would have around 1,000 people. But then again, if you look at the mind, or not
Mm.
kind of look at a mind necessarily, but if you think the way that those wealthy people on social media try to propagate their wealth by showing, look what I have done, you can do the same, buy my course kind of thing. So
Yes.
they try to be able to say, look, we don't know if my wealth is going to be long lasting. I can lose everything tomorrow. How can I build a legacy of my work and continue generating revenue, because I don't know when the next dollar is going to come in, because I don't know how the market is going to act in the next month, 2 months, or 1 year. So again, like if you look at Elon Musk, for example, you would see that his wealth is only on paper, because if you ask him, can you cash everything out? He has to sell stocks of Tesla to be able to get the money that he wants. And he had to sell it to be able to pay IRS tax, because the new law, you pay IRS, even though if you didn't cash out, you still pay in capital gains. So in retrospect, you have those people that, if the market change, if the stock market falls, they are screwed. So what is really wealth? Is wealth on paper? Is wealth on cash that sits in a big safe? What is wealth? So a lot of people wonder the terminology of wealth itself. Is it a financial abundance, or is it wealth in experiences?
Right. And I believe when I did some research on how wealth was previously defined, back when the word wealth kind of came into the human lexicon, it actually had a meaning that encompassed a very holistic viewpoint.
Mhm.
Wealth was more closely related to ideas of wellness as opposed to money.
Correct.
And when the word came about, it represented wellness across multiple facets of our human experience. I love that definition.
Mhm.
And not only do I love that definition, I love creating a definition for myself, because it's one thing I have come to appreciate. The values that the world may represent don't always resonate with who I am and what I believe or what I consider to be of value to me.
Mhm.
So, as long as I abide within what I consider a moral code and the law, of course, of the land where I live, I have, and so do all of our listeners. We all have within these confines, we all have the opportunity to define our life experience and what wealth means to you. I think you need to determine, you need to embrace, and you need to go after it.
Mhm.
Because to not go after it is leaving your purpose behind, and it's leaving a portion of what you were put here to do undone. And in our most simplistic terms, money is needed for just about everything. If you want to stay healthy, you're going
Yes.
to want to eat well, exercise. Nothing has to cost millions of dollars, but certainly money factors into it. So whatever the definition that best resonates with you, honestly, and I'm going to throw this in there, Dr. Dan, a lot of times we try to change the definition of wealth because we are afraid we will not meet a higher definition. So what do I mean? I think a lot of times we live lives of mediocrity
Mhm.
because we're afraid of what lives of abundance would mean,
Correct.
right? And then we create those, oh, I just want to be healthy and I just want a roof over my head and I'll be happy. Sure, no problem. We do need to learn to be happy at every level of abundance or wealth or whatever. But there is this game that our mind plays with us that it allows us to be too comfortable
Mhm.
in uncomfortable situations because we fear the perceived discomfort that would come should we strive more or go after more. So honest conversations with yourself about what wealth means, what wellness means, what wholeness means for you, I think are key to that definition of wealth and then the determination to go after it. And let me just tell you and all of your viewers, listeners, do it scared. I think it's supposed to scare you.
Yes. If the dreams are not scaring you, they're not worth pursuing.
Yes, it needs it, you know, this combination of fear and utter, like, I want to see this, but I'm so afraid. It's that beautiful combination of knowing that there's something greater out there for you. You want to see it, but you're just that bit of skeptical. You're just that bit of, oh, this is so scary. Do it scared. We actually, I don't recall who was sharing this a few years ago, but it was the idea that the thing that you're most uh, after, or that thing that most inspires you, or that drive, that destination that you most want to get to, it's probably right on the other side of one of your biggest fears.
Mhm.
Right?
That's
And getting to it, going after it will mean dealing with that fear. It's so worth doing because a life of wealth, in its most genuine definition for you, is a happy life.
it is happy, and but the wealth again, it has a very, the definition is really particularly different from one person to the other. And again, if you feel that this is what journey you want to pursue, then you go for it. And if you're afraid, this gives you even more reason to pursue that. But the thing is, we always feel that we don't deserve it. Again, it's the feeling of not deserving wealth, abundance, and saying, who am I? And because of the imposter syndrome that a lot of people face on a day-to-day basis, they feel that, oh, I'm not good enough to be able to be at that level. Or when I look at Zuckerberg, I look at Elon Musk, or I look at Branson or Bill Gates or Steve Jobs, whatever it is, you always feel that they had a particular gift that made them who they are today. And now you start questioning, what is my gift? What am I here for? What is my purpose? Why, who am I to become the way they did? And these are self-sabotaging thoughts that you allow coming into your mind on the day-to-day basis that just puts a blockage on your pursuit or go over that mountain. And we always, as you said, we always make a mountain out of a molehill, because even though we know we can surmount this mountain, but we always look at it as above and beyond what we're capable of doing because our lack of self-esteem or whatever other things that plagues us on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah, we have our perception changes just about anything, right?
Mhm.
Depending on from what angle you're going to view something, it could either be humongous or it could be minute. And being able to adjust our perception is vital
Mhm.
to embracing that journey, embracing our wealth experience, and embracing our purpose as well. Because I can tell you, I'm scared. Like when when I went through my own kind of uncovering of what my purpose was, I'm like, how am I supposed to be an inspiration? I have borderline depression. Like, and I'm supposed to inspire people. I very much want to be a private individual and I have to inspire people. How am I supposed to be an inspiration? But it was actually in those very things that I deal with. My desire for privacy doesn't mean that nobody gets to be part of my life.
No.
My desire for privacy simply means that the person out there who wants impact and to live a life outside of the public eye, I get to inspire that because I will be modeling it. I can do that. And just as you would in your therapy session, we encourage the healthy by repeating it, by reinforcing it, by helping our clients who sit with us magnify the possible by making it highly probable.
Correct.
And we minimize all the other stuff around, the noise, the chatter, the distractions, and all of that. It's not that it's not there, Dr. Dan, because along everyone's journey, the challenges are there. The loss is there. The grief is there. There's, I don't know that anybody can reasonably say that they're going to have a life where they will only experience happiness. I mean, happiness is the choice that we're making in how we're going to view our life situation and what we want the overall legacy to be, right? So using our money to create the life that we desire and deserve is definitely a component to creating a life that has its basis and its root in wellness, in purpose, in impact. And I'm a believer that if you're walking in purpose, you will have that joy. You will have that happiness. It can't run away from you.
You make a very good point. So tell our listeners, Hadriana, how can anyone find you and seek your services?
Yes, I am on just about every social media platform. Look up Money Navigator, all one word. You can find me at moneynavigator.ca because I am in Canada. We're digging out of a snowstorm as we speak.
I'm originating from there. So I used to live in Montreal. So I know it's cold and I could feel it already in my bones. But go ahead.
Yes, and I'm on Instagram. I've got a YouTube channel called Cinderella Diaries. At the end of the day, Dr. Dan, I would love to speak with the woman or the person who feels that they're underserved when it comes to really creating wealth and legacy for themselves and their family. And whichever way you reach me, I am here to serve you. So I think that pretty much encapsulated Hadriana at moneynavigator.ca.
Beautiful. Well, listeners, you heard what she said. Give her a call. Reach out to her on different social media platform. And unfortunately, that is all the time that we have for today's podcast. I wish we could do it for longer, but I have other one coming up. I really do appreciate you taking the time out of your very busy schedule, Hadriana, to join us. And thank you again for participating and inspiring our many listeners with your incredible story and skill set. Now, we hope that you have all enjoyed today's episode, and I'm very excited about the many upcoming guests that we have scheduled for season 5 of the Happiness Journey podcast, filled with inspirational stories just like the one that you listened to today. Now, here are some concluding words of wisdom. The famous Elon Musk once said, "When something is important enough, you do it even if the odds are not in your favor. If odds were in everybody's favor, there would be no pride in achieving ultimate success. Odds can sometimes work in your favor, but do not hold your breath on that one. Regardless of where your odds tilt, by keeping on pushing forward because of your action and belief in your idea, you can somehow make them work in your favor. Luck is a small ingredient to an achievable success, but if you don't put the effort required to increase those chances, you will not experience the level of success you dream dearly about." My name is Dr. Dan Emzelag, and you may all keep pursuing your amazing journey in life.